First of all, a huge thank you for inviting us today and taking the time to listen. And actually, to follow the great presentations that we've had, you will find we put lots of pictures of mothers and babies up. And that is just to make us look cute. So we are going to talk about mothers and we are going to talk about children, but we're going to introduce ourselves first. And my name's Campbell, and I am the service manager for the Mother and Child Recovery House in Falkirk. And my wonderful colleague is Natalie Douglas, and she is the service manager for the Mother and Child Recovery House in Dundee. So we're going to tell you a little bit more about our houses and our homes. And I think what I will say, first of all, these are houses and these are homes. These are not units. These are places that mothers and babies come to live, not just to recover. So as we go through what we're about to talk about, I want us to think about them as little tiny babies or little 18 months old that I just picked up this morning before I came here to give a quick squeeze. These are these children's homes, and this is the place the mothers get to spend with them. So, our Mother and Child Recovery Houses are a national service that we have been funded by the Scottish Government for the last couple of years when Dundee opened, and most recently when Falkirk opened in September. So I've got nice bits of paint that sometimes every now and again I'm like, oh, don't touch that, wet paint. But at the same point, we have been able to open these wonderful places thanks to the money that we've had from the Scottish Government until 2026. Our houses are safe, supportive environments. They should have love within them, and they should have care and hope within them. It's a place where mothers can recover from their drug and alcohol use, but also be able to be with their children at that same point. Both houses have got tailored support, as each mother that will come through our wonderful doors, each have their own unique needs, but also the children are unique. So meeting the mother's needs alongside the children's needs, we need to make sure that support is individual. As we think of keeping our families together, because that is our purpose, is that yesterday as I was coming in, they were saying, where are you going, Karen? Where are you going? Where are you going? And I said, I'm going up to Dundee and I'm going to speak to all these fancy people and I'm going to put a fancy dress on and I'm going to go and speak to them. And I said, but actually, I could put all the professional language right the way through this, and Natalie and I will use professional language. But what I wanted to know from the mums was, when I say this, what does that mean to you? So what I'm going to do is go through each of them, and I'm going to tell you what they said to me last night at 6 o'clock as they were eating their tea. And actually, then I looked round and somebody was holding a baby and someone else was eating the tea and someone else was doing the dishes. And I was like, what was it you said over there? Let me write that down. So I'm going to tell you what each of them said. So recovery houses where we support children under the age of 5, and that includes pregnant mothers. The recovery houses are about keeping families together. And what the mum said to me is that helps us build connection with our babies. It gives us a chance to reflect on what kind of parent we really want to be or need to be for our children. It's a place where we will challenge stigma or marginalisation. And what they said was it gives us a support network. We don't feel judged. Empowering women to take control of their lives. They said that the Mother and Child Recovery Houses gives them new doors that open, so opens new doors for them. It gives them time to reflect on reality. Now that might be their own reality, their reality they've left, or the future reality that they wish. We will ensure that we will take all sections of our women, whether that be LGBTQ, whatever religion, it doesn't matter. They come through to live in our houses because it's their home while they're with us. We will be compassionate, we will be understanding, and we will also expect that of them, to be compassionate and understanding of the others that they will live with, because they'll all each have different journeys. And it's really, really important that we understand what they need, but they understand what each other needs. And a beautiful quote from quite a shy mum. I said, "What does that mean to you?" And she said, "Recovery for you that is guided by you." And I was actually blown away, and I wrote it in red pen because it was so important. Our national service follows a social model where we hope that there is dignity, there is respect. It is not only trauma-informed, but trauma-sensitive. And I love these little bits, and I would like to think if you walked through our door in the recovery houses that you would be greeted with a smile. I quite like to hug, so I do little hugs. I have to check first. But what I hope is that people that walk through that door, whether you're a mother, whether you're a grandmother, whether you're another child, whether you're a professional, you should be warmly greeted into our home. We build connection and we live with hope every single day, and sometimes that is every minute of that day. We have to live with hope. For those of you that know about children and families, ultimately, alongside our recovery and our MAT standards and everything that we want to be able to offer, we also want to keep the promise to our children. And remembering that many of the mothers will be care experienced themselves, and some of their journey may not have had what the pillars of the promise say that we need to have. Something you will find, and as I was leaving yesterday, they're like, "You never go in, Karen," and I was like, "Love ya." But what I mean is I say, "Love you," is actually, I do. They're the most wonderful women. Their babies are the sweetest and the cutest, and you can't help but love them. But if we don't make people feel by genuinely meaning it that we care, then actually we're not doing our jobs. And actually, we're not being compassionate people. We will ensure that voices are heard, and already I've nabbed Louise because there's lots of voice that we are hearing that we want to empower these women to have. We need, not only when they're with us, but when they go back to their communities, they need to be empowered to use these voices. We also need to empower the voices of the children that we meet and that we care about. And and some people would say, "No, you can't. A baby has a voice. A 2-year-old has a voice. A 4-year-old has a voice. They are our future. And so we need to ensure not only the voice of the mothers, but the voices of the children are heard. The whole family approach that we talk about, in that professional language of whole family approach, is something that is so, so, so important. If Granny can't come in and feel comfortable and sit down and have a cup of tea and chat to us, actually, what is she thinking is going on? And with all these lots of professional language and leaflets and all these things that we have, actually shouldn't be the place. It should be the place that someone can come in and go, "How is she really? How is she doing? Actually, I've noticed a difference. I'm still worried about." So at the same point, we not only can help mothers recover with their children, but actually we can maybe support some of that family recovery as well. We talk about changes in services, changes in staffing, and how unsettling that is. Something that's really, really important to Natalie and myself is not only we scaffold around the people that come into our beautiful, beautiful houses and homes, but is also look after the staff, the vicarious trauma, the sadness, the happiness, the joy. We need to ensure that our staff are well cared for so that we become like Ireland, where I'm in there with my Zimmer frame and my bus pass in my pocket, and actually I'm saying I've been here for 20 years. That's what I want for my team. I want them to be there. I want them to feel like they make a difference. Because if they don't feel that, they won't stay. And if I don't care about them and give them a hug when they're going, "Actually, that was really difficult. I had some really difficult stuff today." If I don't care about them, they can't stay because it's too hard. So part of the promise is not only scaffolding around the families, but is scaffolding around our team. So now you want a wee peek because they sound amazing. So this is a wee peek. And we have got beautiful videos that if you want to see them, they show you much more than this. We actually keep it really quite private. These need to be safe spaces for our women, because what we know is there is a significant, and 100% of the women that we've both met, and Natalie's met much more than I have at the moment, have experienced domestic abuse. We need to keep these mothers and these children safe. So we have this beautiful kitchen in Falkirk. Don't ask me what I cook on it, because I'm good at putting on the kettle and making a cup of coffee, but it is a beautiful kitchen. And this is our living space. It is a living space. It has got sofas. It has got a telly. Everybody sits down and has a cup of tea. There's babies lying in their playmats having a great time. There is a laundry space where people can go in and do their laundry. There is a medical room space in both our houses where people are able to go in and get their medication. In that space, it is a clinical space, but it also means that I can have a midwife come in. I can have a health visitor come in. I can have our GP come in. And it is a safe medical space. We're not asking people to go down to chemists and lots of appointments. And there is appointments when you've got babies, because there is lots of appointments. But if we can actually do a bit of both, then maybe we actually are not asking people to go into difficult situations when they're not ready. So Dundee has a beautiful snug, and Natalie and I were talking about how nice it is just to go into the snug, and that's where, again, we go back to, at times that might be where the staff meet, or it might be a time a mother just goes in there on their own to get a breather, to find a nice therapeutic space to reflect on the work that they've done. So I would like to say you're all very welcome, but if you all came at once, I've not got enough tea and coffee. So I'm going to pass over to the wonderful Natalie, and now for a wee sneaky peek, we'll start talking a bit more professional language, but you'll also hear some more from our mums.
So what we're trying to do is do a longer term assessment in the community, and that's not to stop people accessing services sooner, it's to make sure that those women are informed and they are making decisions about their own care. We don't want women to access our service because they feel a pressure from a social worker, or that they feel that that's their only option to be with their children. We want them to be informed and empowered to make those decisions about their own care so that they can be with their children on their terms. What we also want to do as part of that assessment is really unpack her story, and what we want to happen in that community assessment is she only needs to tell us that once. So she tells that with a trusted person in her home, in her local authorities, and she never needs to tell anyone else about that story again, because we communicate that internally with her consent. And that means hopefully we don't get those moments of repeated trauma, having to repeat the same things over and over again. And actually that's some of the feedback that we've had from women that they really appreciate. When we've got through the assessment, and that can be anywhere between 4 weeks or 12 weeks, it's really dependent on that person's need. We welcome them to our home. Some women come to us pregnant, some women are reunited with their children from foster or kinship placements, and some of the children come with their mums who are already in their care. The residential stay is not a 12-step programme, it's not a 12-week programme, it's person-centred and person-led. So what we do is we identify what the mums want, what do they want from the recovery, and then we make a programme around that. And we have a bunch of tools in our tool bag that we then utilise to make that programme. So our main one is PUP, which stands for Parents Under Pressure. It's an Australian-based model around attachment. It looks at recovery, life skills, attachment theory, and really about understanding that bond and their own history with their own parents and how that impacts on their parenting skills. We also use things like Smart Recovery, both in-house and available in the community, Solly Hill parenting approach, and also the Freedom programme to look at relationships and domestic violence. We also access local community services. We both have different options available to us, both in Dundee and Falkirk, so it's just a wee bit different depending on what house you're in or what's available. Most women stay with us for about 6 months, but it's not as cut and dry, high and dry as that. Women might decide to just detox with us and then they want to go home. Some women want to never leave, and sometimes I have to go, well, let's get you back home and sorted. When it is time to go home, what we try and look at is housing, benefits, finance and debt, and we try and take away some of those barriers that they probably had already coming in. And what we look at is how can we Instead of bubble wrapping them for 6 months and sending them straight back to the same place with the same people and the same influences, how can we make sure that they have positive connections with people that really care about their recovery? So what we want to do is link into their community resources, know who's around them, reconnect them with family that really do want to see them succeed. And that's why we try and make this whole process, it lasts about a year in total if the women follow the 12 weeks, 12 weeks, 12 weeks, 12 weeks. But as I said, person-led, so it doesn't always follow that. So why are we a little bit different? So I feel that we have an innovative view of recovery because we don't really just look at it as, you need to come to us and do what we offer. It's more like, what do you need and how can we then fulfill that for you? So basically what we're trying to do is look at the relationship between mother and child, because actually that family relationship, that family unity is actually key in long-term recovery, particularly for mothers. What we want to do is to stop children going into care, and we want to stop mothers feeling less like a parent. We also include things like therapeutic interventions, so we look at family inclusive practice, we look at trauma practice, and what we try and understand is all of the other factors that might influence why somebody has chosen drug and alcohol as a way to soothe that, show them a life outside of drug and alcohol use, swimming, ice skating, we go up the hills, you know, those are the shifts that everybody likes to be on, but those are the ones where we try and say, it's not really just about sitting down and talking about crack cocaine all day. It's actually about realising, what is your relationship with your parents like? What is your relationship with your partner like? Your children? What was it like? Did you have a lot of shouting in your house? Really unpacking their histories and helping them reflect on that to maybe break a cycle. The traditional model of recovery, particularly for mothers, is that substance use is identified and then child protection kicks in. The child is removed. The child is usually put in a place of safety, either in a kinship placement or in a foster placement. We all recognise that that's a loss. It's an additional trauma. And what ends up happening is women are asked to, well, you need to prove yourself now. You need to prove yourself as a mother in the community without your child. And at times, sometimes the system's set up to fail because these women have just experienced another trauma on top of all of the other traumas that they've probably experienced up to then. What we're recognising is that can actually impact on long-term recovery. After that, maybe a person says, I'd like to consider rehab. So they go on the waiting list, they go through the 12-week programme, they go back to the community, still without their child, and then still have to evidence that they're now a capable parent. What we're saying is, take 4 of those steps away and just give these mothers a chance to be with their children and a safe place to do that while they recover. And what we're saying is that although that can be very, I guess, radical in some ways, to me it just makes total sense. Why add another trauma to a child? Why add another trauma to a mother? Drug and alcohol use does not equal bad parent. I think we're very passionate about having our women tell us what they want. So I've just popped a couple of bits of feedback from some of our women who have used the service previous. I have noticed that I've made a spelling mistake. Just ignore that. But as I say, I think you can find that these are quite powerful. I'll just give you a little minute to catch up. I don't know how much time we have, but I know that there's a wee networking break after this. We have a million flyers and everything else that you would need. We're very, very keen to network with as many agencies across Scotland because we can't do this on our own, and we recognise that in order to give these women the best chances in their local authorities, we also need to make good connections. So please don't be shy, and I really appreciate your time. Thank you.